Welcome back to Crash Courses. My name is Tad Cooper, and with me is special guest today, Oscar Cielo. Oscar, welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk today about what it's like to be a current student at an aviation mechanic part 147 maintenance school.
We can definitely do that. And we're going to tie that in with the dial caliper, correct?
We're going to tie that in seamlessly. In fact, we're so confident you'll be able to use a dial caliper at the end of this video that we very kindly, politely, gently asked a random stranger right off the street to participate with us here today to show you just how easy reading a dial or vernier caliper can be for anyone. Cue the music, George. So the first thing I want to know, Oscar, is what got you in the door? What made you want to become an A&P mechanic?
Well, easy. I always loved airplanes. The first time I ever got on an airplane, I was about 6 years old. And apparently, according to my mom, I never wanted to get off. So since then, I always loved going to the airport, looked forward to it, even though most people hate it. For me, it's a trip.
So we're a few videos in now, and I realized I've actually never formally introduced myself, background, experience, credentials. And I want to take that time now because I think it's important where you get your information from. So I'm a licensed pilot, licensed A&P mechanic. I am currently the Director of Education at a Part 147 Aviation Maintenance School. I spent 6 years at Spirit Airlines as a lead in Atlantic City, lead in Philadelphia, and acting supervisor in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. It's a little town right out of Pittsburgh. I spent 5 years with a little company, a charter airline called Swift Air / iAirways. I was the maintenance manager there, mostly all Boeing 737s. So we did a lot of preparation for this video, and I realized there's a lot of good information out there, there's a lot of bad information out there. So we want you to get the best and most accurate information possible. And that leads me to the perfect opportunity to talk about what you're currently doing right now. You want to discuss that?
Sure. So currently I'm working at my local airport, a small family-owned company that is a Part 135. I think it's a great start to my career, whether I decide to go to the big airlines, the big airplanes, or stick to just small regional jets. Every day is something new, whether it's a small inspection, a big inspection. Everything that I've done on the job, I definitely went over at least once at my A&P school.
So the good part about that is you're currently already working in the field. So once you get your license, boom, they're gonna up your pay, and you already got your foot in the door.
That is correct.
So what would you say was the hardest part about being an A&P student?
I think the hardest part is that there is a lot to learn, but as long as you believe in yourself, once it comes time to take those FAA exams, study the material, study the books, and you should be golden.
So let's talk about those FAA exams. So as a student here, okay, one of the three of the requirements are you have 3 written exams. You have your general exam, your airframe exam, and your power plant exam. Complete all your general training, then you take your written test. You complete all your airframe training, then you take your airframe test. Power plant training, power plant test. All right. Then the last thing you're going to have is you're going to have your O&P, your oral and practical, and that's going to be with a DME, designated mechanical examiner. So let's talk about the schedule at a Part 147 maintenance school. Okay. So we have day shift, we have an evening shift, and we're even looking to expand to a weekend shift. Now you are a day shift student?
Correct.
Okay. And how do you like that?
I like it a lot because, I get it done. First thing in the morning, I'm there, always on time, unless there's traffic. But once I get home, I can go to my job, work a couple hours, call it a day.
Also, we have what you call block scheduling, where we have different courses that are within the block. So for example, we have block 1, our first block. All right, you've got basically 4 courses in there. You've got math, physics, weight and balance, and then NDT. And then you have other classes which are like block 5, which is sheet metal. Sheet metal is basically just all sheet metal.
A lot of fun.
So what have you liked most about the school? What would you say your favorite part about being an A&P student is?
I think my favorite part about being an A&P student is getting up and close with all of the tools that I'll be seeing every day on the field. And I love seeing the massive engines that I will be working on before I'm actually going to be working on them. Kind of takes the edge off a little bit.
And he's also a really popular guy. So you should see this guy with the ladies at the school. Now, one of the things you should know is at an A&P mechanic school, Title CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 147. That is an AMT or an Aviation Maintenance A&P school. Usually whenever we make a video, we try to make it relevant or to whatever usually the students are requesting. One of the things I get requested the most are when you take your test is, Tad, what are all these codes that I keep getting, okay? So right down here we get a code. So just like Oscar said, we take our test, we see the codes, we see what we got wrong on our test, but we have no idea what this means. So we're gonna break that down for you. We're gonna explain exactly what that means. So our first code, all right, we have AM, stands for aircraft maintenance. Our next code, again, so we have general, airframe, and power plant. So general, again, we're just getting you guys the tools you need to get started with the school, the experience, the exposure.
And the math.
And the math, can't forget the math.
A lot of math.
And then we have the airframe section. So when you see the 1, the 2, the 3, that just tells you what section you're on. So in this case, we are on a general section. And then we have the subject. So in this case, the subject is K, which is inspection concept. Again, which ties very neatly into the dial caliper, what we're going to be doing. Then again, you're going to see either one of 3. You're going to see either a K, an R, or an S. So what that means is if you see a K, that means it's part of the knowledge version, which means it's something you could see on your written exam, okay? Now if it's a risk, now it's aviation, all right? So what's safe about going 500 miles per hour at 35,000 feet? Nothing, right? So there's always going to be a little risk in aviation. That's just what we signed up for. So a risk means it could be anywhere from a question to something maybe on your practical exam. Then we have the skills, okay? Now the skill level means that it has to be done in a practical. It means it has to be done before your examiner, typically a project that you've already done. That's the good news, is anytime you have to do anything in front of your examiner, it's going to be a project that you've already done before, nothing new. And again, the little trick I put off here is the first code is a 1, which just happens to be use vernier caliper.
All right, let's get to it.
When you get your test and you want to know what it is you got wrong, right here. So if you see a C, it is a weight and balance question you got wrong. E, materials and process. Go over here. E, landing gear systems. J, fuel systems. Power plant, instruments, fire protection, electrical, etc. So you get the idea.
Okay.
So now when my students come up to me and they say, hey Tad, could you tell me what I missed wrong in the test? I could say no, like I always do, leave me alone. It's all right here for you guys.
Well, thank you, Tad, for all the information. I think that you just always go out of your way to go above and beyond, and just to make sure that everyone is learning what they need to learn. And you're a really great teacher. Well,
thank you, Oscar. But it really comes down to respect. Respect for other people, how you treat others, and don't ever let anyone ever force you into a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable or unethical. You have to think about all these. Would you shut up? I'm trying to talk about ethics in aviation.
Does she need medical attention?
Probably. So we're looking at the vernier caliper. First thing you're going to look is your reference line. Notice we are between 3 inches and 4 inches. So your first number is going to be 0.3. Next number is going to be your 2 because your reference line is between your 2 and your 3. Then you're going to go down here, you're going to count the little graduations, 25, 50, 75. You're going to add your 75. Then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to look at which one lines up the best. In this case, it is 10, 11, 12, 13. Add the 13 to the 75. That's going to give you 88. So this next one is also straight from prepware. What you got, Oscar?
Well, we're definitely in the 1 inch mark because the reference line has not passed the 2.
Very good.
Then next thing I see is that we are between the 4 and the 5, so it's going to be 1.4.
Very good.
Next thing I noticed is that we are between the 25 and the 50, but not exactly at the 50.
Very good. So we're going to go with 25.
And if I had to pick out of all these numbers, the one that aligns the best is probably going to be the 11.
Perfect.
So if I do some quick math real quick. Okay, yeah. Adds up perfectly, 1.436.
Very good. And now I'm going to go over here and grab my caliper, and that's going to take us to our next segment.
Let's do it.
There's a few projects you might use with a dial caliper. Let's talk about some of those measurements. The first measurement is I could use to measure the outside of an object here with my external outside jaws. Then I have my smaller internal jaws used to measure the inside of an object. And then on the end, on the bottom here, I have a depth gauge. So now let's talk about the parts. We've got the external jaws, the internal jaws, then I have my dial, then I have my bezel nut right here if I needed to adjust any accuracy with my dial. Here is my locking device to secure my measurement. Here is my thumb screw, which I would use as the correct way to move my caliper. And then the last step would be my reference line, where all my measurements will be taken. Let's measure some parts. So let's go ahead and take a look at just a standard reading right here. If I look right here, I see 0.750. So if I take another random reading, let's look here on the scale, I see 0.8. Then I look at the dial, I see I'm past the 5, I'm at 0.860. That's how I'd read that. So let's go ahead and measure a part. Let's measure a bolt head. And as you can see, I've got 0.554. So I would read that as 554 thousandths of an inch. So let's go ahead and measure our tube. And we see we're reading 0.754. Then we can go ahead and measure the inside. So this would put us at 0.631. We're not at the 2 yet, so we'd read that as 631 thousandths of an inch. Now let's go ahead and measure a random object that's larger than an inch. So if I take my object right here, all right, and let's see, okay, I can pull out now, I've got my measurement, and it looks like I'm going to be at 3.930. So if you want to know more about becoming an A&P mechanic, please contact us. We'll put the email below. And remember, your license is just a certificate to continue learning.
I got it! 1.209.
I think he's got it, Ted.
Our work here is done. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.